Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Lucas. Today we are going to be replacing this old exterior door with a brand new one. Let's get started. Very rarely do you use wood for a sill, but that's how they did it in the old times. Alright, so I'm running into a slight issue. The door is like barely too big, and this is block, and then they poured concrete on here after, and it's super uneven. There's some really big high spots. So I measured in 4.5 because that's the size of my jamb, and I'm gonna shave down all the high spots and try and make this as level as possible so that the door can fit, and then also so that there's room to shim it up or down to make it plumb and level across the bottom. So that's what I'll be working on now. I'm gonna put the blower inside so that it blows all the dust out. Disregard that I don't have a mask. I know that it's not the safest, but I don't have a mask here right now. Alright, so I have the bottom concrete kind of leveled as best I can. It's kind of all wonky. So to make the door fit, because this is going to take forever for me to do that, I got this good enough. I'm actually going to take off the top of my jamb, the jamb of the door. Just take these staples out, rip this piece down maybe 1/8 to 1/4, and then screw it back in. It won't affect any of the door. It's just to give me a little bit more room to shim and get the door where I need it. Where I want it to be. Now we have to put pressure treated on the block. Anytime you're doing cement or concrete or block, you always want to put pressure treated or make sure that the wood is really well primed if it's like the bottom edge. But usually you want to put pressure treated and then attach your door to that. So I'm going to be measuring my pressure treated. I got 2x6s, and I'm just going to rip them down to be the same width as the jamb of my door, which is 4.5. Some people, you can use 2x4s, pressure treated, but I just like to have a little bit extra to grab too. Okay. I have my 2x6s cut and ready to be installed. I'm either going to do that with some wire and screws or some Tapcons after I drill through the block. At this point, there's some variability to what can happen with your door. So when you're installing, if your door is out of plumb front to back, it can make it so that your door either closes by itself or opens by itself. It's obviously not latched. So there's kind of some preference here on whether you just put everything flush with the outside edge. Also, there can be a difference if you put both of your 2x6s on the face of the block. One could be proud of the other, which then shifts your door offset, so the top of your door or the bottom of your door is sticking in or out, either way of the jamb. So you kind of have to play with this point. I'm going to try and make them as plumb as possible. The block is not plumb front to back, so I'm going to cheat it a little bit. I'll fix it when I do the trim to make it look all nice, but there's kind of some variability in at this point when you're attaching onto this and putting your door, getting your door where you need it. So just bear that in mind. Alright, this is how I determined where my pressure treat is going to go. So the block is out of plumb on the like from top to bottom. So I cheated. I left it a little bit. I left the pressure treated a little inside, and then as I went down, I brought it outside of it. And that still wasn't even like, I still had a lot more to go to make it plumb. So that's all I wanted to do. And I did the same thing on the other side, hoping that both sides were the same in regards to plumb based off of a level. And so that's what I was working with. All right, now that the 2x6 is in and solid, I have checked my door. I've just put it in really quickly to see if it all fits, to make sure I can shim it where I need it. And now I'm going to install on the door these installation clips. I've actually never done it on an exterior door, but I thought it would help just so that I can get it in and screw it plumb. So the way these work is they kind of go on the side of the door like so, and then you draw a plumb line on this side, that's the hinge side, and line it up with one of the notches here. So I'm still going to shim and screw off the door at all the hinges and make sure my gaps are right. I just thought this would be nice to help me to make sure that my door stays in while I'm going in and out to do that, because I'm just a one-man crew here. Just before you put your door in, you want to make sure that you get some silicone. I use silicone, some people use caulk. You want to make sure that the bottom is sealed from water and also bugs and so on. After I put it in, I'll show you how, just kind of the amount and where I put it. All right, a good amount on the corners, and then I did 2 strips. And when you install your door, do your best to lift it up and try and set it in instead of like pushing it from the front all the way to the back, because then you're just gonna pile up all your silicone. So that's kind of how I do it, I'm ready to install my door. It's also wise to actually test out your door before you put this on, or else it's gonna be a mess. All right, now that I'm in the inside, I am fairly certain that my door is plumb, just from my clips on the outside. Yes, it is very close. Sometimes, even if the door is not plumb, you want to check operation and make sure your gap is good. If it is good, you can get away with it. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect on your hinges. So I'm going to work on shimming the hinges and putting the screw, the long screw that they don't put in, but they give you. They send you a long screw to put in the hinge to keep that secured. So I'm going to do that hinge screw. Put one shim in from the inside and one from the outside. Forgot to mention this. I did say to shim both sides. The reason why is because you don't want one side to be smaller than the other, so then when you put a screw in, it could twist your jamb one way or the other, and it makes everything really frustrating. So make sure that you shim both sides an equal amount to make it nice and square with your opening. All right, I will show you guys the gap over there so you have an idea. So this is the gap that I'm looking at right here, all the way up, and it is really consistent all the way from top to bottom. So I'm saying that side is good. Now moving over to this side, I want to make sure that the door has a nice gap on this side of the jamb, but also to make sure that the jamb and door meet up along the whole way and that the door is not proud on the bottom or the top. Show you the gap here. It's good all the way. Gets a little bit big there. I'm going to add one more shim. The top is good. Another gap that you want to make sure is good is your top gap. I'm not sure what people are talking about sometimes when they say you want your door to be a little high because it's going to sink. No, that's exactly why you put screws over there, so that it doesn't sink. Anyway, and if it does, you can adjust it after. Make it look good the first time. But I want to make sure that gap's good. My gap's good all around. As you can see, I have a huge gap on the top over here to nothing over there, nothing on the bottom here, there's actually a little gap on the top, and then even there's a gap there down to nothing over here. So it can be very tricky to install a door if your opening is not prepped correctly. All right, now that the door is officially in, I'm going to cut all my shims inside and out, and I'm going to start working on the exterior trim. That'll cover up all of my pressure treated up top, and I'll show you how I'm going to just make some slight little cuts to make it sit flush and hit the jamb where I want it to. All right, so this is a great example. This block ledger is sitting super far out. So if I were to put my trim on, there would be a huge gap right there. So I'm gonna back cut the back part of my trim to make this sit flush with the metal and then also with my door. And I'm gonna do that wherever there is a gap. So there's a little gap there. That's almost acceptable. You could caulk that, but I'm not going to. And as you go down, there's different areas that become flush with it because I wanted to keep my door as close to Plumb as possible. So I'll do that and put all my trim on the outside. All right, so this is what I notched out of the top trim so that it'll fit right up in here. So as you can see, it's nice and flush. I'll put some sealant adhesive behind there to attach to the metal, and then I'll screw into the jam. Alright guys, that is a wrap on the door. Everything is installed on the exterior. If you want to watch the next video, I'm going to show you how to do the interior trim, the extension jams and all. But thanks for watching. Check it out. Any of the other videos, like and subscribe. See you later guys.